Coming to you live from my brother's apartment where the Wi-Fi is good. It's WrestleZone! 3 points of contact on the screen for you right now, and your comments on screen with us live. If you're on the podcast feed, welcome. Subscribe to WrestleZone Radio. We just dropped a really cool interview with Ricky Starks. Is Richard the proper name? Is Richard the proper name?
It's Ricky. You call him Stroke Daddy, you call him Absolute. It's one of those.
He's the hottest free agent in pro wrestling. We just dropped that on there. He says a lot of very provocative things in there. He just recently left NWA. Where is he going to end up? You might get an idea of that in this interview. And also coming up in the podcast feed, WrestleZone Radio on all your podcast apps, including Spotify. Just launched on Spotify this week, so go check us out there. We will be dropping an interview with the figurehead of the Bullet Club, Tama Tonga. It will be a simply too sweet interview that'll be dropping in the next 24 hours. Plus, you get 4 episodes every single week of WrestleZone Daily. This show on one feed. That's a Patreon of content. Okay, we're giving you literally an entire channel of audio content. And, of course, the video is available on YouTube and Facebook as well. Let's get into it. A lot to talk about. On a Thursday of the show, I am Kevin Kellum of WrestleZone.com, also of WrestleZone.com, in the zone, all right? Talking to Robert DeFeels where WrestleMania was supposed to be in Tampa, Florida. Robert, is it butt sweaty where you are?
It's getting there, and it's a little rainy and thundery today. But that is why we have Mr. Dominic D'Angelo, who, as far as I'm concerned, is the, heart and soul of this website. Oh, and, he gets his shit done. So, Dominic, talk to him.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It's good to be here and shoot the wrestling shiz with you to find folks. I listened back to your episode last night. It was great. You guys are chemistry in motion.
There we go. We are oil and water, but it works. Some people have been noting, Robert, that you and I are not getting along in recent episodes.
I want you guys to fight.
Yeah. You just jumped to the conclusion when I opened the sentence. I didn't even come to push the buttons. I want to fight. I want to push the buttons. I want to see people fight. Leave it to wrestling fans.
I just want to see two dudes go at it. I want to see two brothers turn on each other. I don't know why. That won't be happening. But I do call out bad takes when I see them, and Ked's got bad takes. I got to tell him.
Wow.
We're gonna have some takes today. And and it's worth noting, if you want to listen to our post AEW NXT episode that Robert and I did yesterday, we covered some things because Robert covers AEW live and I cover NXT live. We'll get into the ratings they had here in just within a minute. But I have some takes about AEW, and I got to catch up on a good chunk of the show. I've not seen everything. I've seen the most important stuff from the show, and I have some takes. I have some takes that if you're an AEW fan, you may not like, and I make some great points. Dom, I know you're fond of what they're doing. Robert, I know you're fond of what they're doing, but there's some things they're doing that I'm just like, all right, this is a short-term thing, but is it a long-term thing? We'll get into that. Let's get into ratings. Thursdays is the big ratings day. This is when we get our ratings from the Wednesday Night Wars. There's a conflict, and we have to complain about who will get near 1 million viewers. No one got near 1 million viewers. But let's get into it. Robert, what are the ratings coming out of AEW Dynamite on TNT, WWE NXT on USA?
You know what, Kev? I'm gonna fight you on that one a little bit because I think AEW got pretty darn close to 1 million viewers. AEW.
I'm joking. I'm looking at the comments here on screen. There's people
you're trolling, Kev.
Trolling. I'm simply giving the trolls the crumbs they need to stay. Okay, that's it. I'm trying to convert.
Is this what you guys were talking about? Salty treats. This is
yes. I'm trying to give them their salty treats. Thank you. I love your tweet about that. Robert, what are the ratings?
Dynamite draws 827,000 viewers. NXT draws 731,000 viewers. More importantly, though, Dynamite is number 4 for the whole night, and that is huge.
That's really, really big. They beat some great shows. Beat the Guy Fieri cooking show with one of his newer products there.
Guys, grocery games. Hold on, you're not gonna come on here and disrespect Guy Fieri. We're just not gonna do that, Kevin. Take it easy.
You ever heard the best line I've ever heard about Guy Fieri is Bobby Moynihan played him on a bunch of different sketches on SNL, and they would have him come in the Weekend Update, and he's like, "I'm sorry, am I going to apologize for my hair looking like I'm someone who was drinking Mountain Dew got electrocuted at the same time?" That was like the best line about him in general. But another strong night for AEW on the ratings, and you got to think that Mike Tyson played a role. This is the first time we've seen him on TV. They had him at Double or Nothing. But certainly, you got to think that the Mike Tyson effect is played a big factor in this. And another big factor for both AEW and NXT was no Masked Singer tonight. Masked Singer is the huge hit show that a lot of people are talking about on network television. It's been a big monster mover for Fox, and I definitely saw it on social media. We didn't have it this week. And Mike Tyson, is he the big factor for them? The mainstream guy, the biggest mainstream name they've brought in outside of Chris Jericho that, non-hardcore independent wrestling fans would know. And it seems like you can make that connection. Social media, people tuning in, hearing Mike Tyson was going to be on the show. I don't think the math is too hard to break down there.
No, I agree with you 100%. They did their job of promoting it beforehand. And, just having that name, like in Dynamite, on Double or Nothing, Kev, me and you talked about it in a review. Like they didn't do anything with him. Like, what the hell? And then, they follow up with, hey, he's going to be on Dynamite. Jericho teases about it, saying like it's 10 years in the making or whatever, all that kind of thing. So I think they did a very good job at getting the point across. I was very, very curious about how the ratings were going to be turning out this week, because I could have seen it just kind of staying water level and stuff like that. So, good on them for being able to get that rating right now.
This is absolutely capitalizing on Mike Tyson's name. I think that isn't a shot at AEW or anything else they had. You could say that, maybe the fans that tune in on Wednesdays and bounce around are like, I think I'm going to stay with AEW tonight because they got this Mike Tyson guy, and you're getting fallout from the pay-per-view, and you knew you were getting kind of like the new launch of a bunch of different storylines. You see that same pattern with WWE. A Raw after a pay-per-view always tends to have a little bit more interest, even online. You kind of see that. And I felt they were going to have that. The Tyson factor, I thought, is the clear winner for them. But my take on what they did with Tyson, I just don't understand where you're going to get something. It'll be a spectacle. But will it live up to the standard that AEW is set for delivering everything? We're going to be a big pop culture show that could get fans from WWE who like the casual sports entertainment stuff, and we're going to give you the best pro wrestling we can. I don't know what you can get out of Tyson that will be as satisfactory as people want, because I think he's such a needle moving guy in terms of what he's done, and so. Are you going to do a pro wrestling match with him? I don't know. Yeah, Chris Jericho was on Busted Open Day on SiriusXM, and he said he's open to anything, a boxing match, a chess match, a checkers. It's above his pay grade to say what's going to happen. So he kind of alluded that something's going to happen here. But I watched that segment. I thought it was cool. But the whole time I was like, with Mike Tyson, I think the thing we want is physicality. And we got a fair amount of physicality, probably more than he did on the pay-per-view. It was much more compelling than what he did on the pay-per-view. And I don't know if you have to have him talk a whole lot. He's just a personality and people know what he's doing. But it did leave me wanting more, which is what it's supposed to do. Now, what are they going to do? And what are they going to give me? I don't know. And I talked about this on our post show last night. I don't know if this is something that the people that are already on board with AEW like. I think this is absolutely for casual fans. And you could say it's a bad thing, but I've always noted, like, you can't deny something that would get somebody who's always enjoyed Chris Jericho for over 20 years and knows Mike Tyson, played Punch-Out when they were a kid. Yeah, all right. This is a total Gen X appeal. I think this is something that definitely skews older, like above 30. That crowd, I think, is more into this, or maybe at least above 25. So there's something there, and I don't know what it is, though. The question mark about it is very sketchy for me. But right now, I want to see what happens next. And it made me feel like, all right, this is right now, this is cool, but I'm very uneasy that you can deliver something with Tyson. Is he going to have this phenomenal match? Are we going to get Floyd Mayweather versus Big Show, which I think is the best they can get out of this, is him having a match that is very limited, street fight, it kind of hides any weaknesses he has as not being a pro wrestler. And you can do that. Now, if you don't get a match and you simply get him in somebody's corner, or you're doing a team thing, or you're doing a Mishigosh thing, my worry, and this is the weakness I see with AEW, is they overbook some stuff. They build up to it really good, and then they throw too much in the pot, and we get Cody versus the Murder Hawk with 15 people around the ring, and Mike Tyson not punching anybody. So that's my worry. That was the thing that disappointed me the most about Double or Nothing, which I thought was a great show.
I think we're overthinking it here. I think we are not.
I'm probably overthinking it, right? I'm overcooking it. I'm over.
Let it play out. This is an experiment on behalf of a brand new company to see if this draws in viewers. Now, I know the diehards don't want to hear this, but they already have your money. They have your support. They have your loyalty. There's nothing wrong with them wanting to dip into another fan base. And if this works for them, I got bad news for you. It's going to keep happening. And maybe that's what you don't want. But it might work for them. So we just have to see.
Carl Dennett texting and saying Jericho Tyson feud. No, thank you. He's not feeling it at all. He's not
something they have to keep in mind is Tyson. You can see he's Tyson, so like he does whatever he kind of like. He's not a wrestler. He doesn't cut promos. He doesn't do anything like that. So that confrontation with Jericho was a little like ham jankery, a little bit, if you will. And I feel you got to kind of not necessarily reel him in, but try to channel that energy into the right aspect of it. I think that's going to be the key point to getting whatever they decide to do across. And also, who the hell was that Mike Gooch guy? Like, It looked like somebody. It looked like a Men in Black alien possessed that guy's body in sugar water. That's what I was like. Who the hell is that dude?
Yeah.
And like,
how much of a factor is that kind of like entourage going to play into this? These were notable guys that were there. Henry Cejudo just retired from the UFC. He was out there. Rashad Evans, UFC legend, was out there. And these are big names. I don't think they were out there for nothing. So I'm leaning towards there's going to be something physical, and my worry is it may not satisfy. I think AEW has the hype, and they have we're the new guys on the block, changing everything appeal, and that sauce gets thrown in everything. And now here's something that's what they've done with Jericho and Cody and other names and other people have come over, Moxley and all those different things. And here's a fresh take on them. The worry about this, and this is the biggest critique, it's the biggest thing I had, and Robert and you and I were talking about this, it feels like the most WWE thing they've done in terms of let's bring in a celebrity and pop a number. And they've done it, but other people saying it's not above 1 million. It's fair. All right, it's fair thing. We'll get into NXT. But AEW has done something here, so they're going to keep going in this direction because the numbers are telling them to go in that direction. But they listen so much to that hardcore audience that has gotten them here, that has helped them sell out shows and help them become what they are and become that big number 2 company right now. But is this something where it could divide the audience even further? Are you going to see that split in the audience like how WWE had for a long time? Cena fans and non-Cena fans, which isn't bad because eventually you just settle into a pattern and you give one lane this thing and you give one lane that thing. And I guess that's fine. That's growth, right?
The audience is already split. There is a good segment of the audience that just wants the Young Buck stuff. There's a good segment of the audience that just wants the Cody stuff. Their audience is already segmented to a degree. Mm-hmm. I really think, and I got just terrible news for anybody that doesn't like this. What is the shocking factor here that they're trying to emulate WWE's business formula? It's a successful business formula. It might not always be a successful business formula, but it works. I don't want to bury the lead here, but I mean, is it really a bad thing that they're trying to dip into the Mike Tyson pool a little bit?
And guys, I don't think too necessarily. I mean, you look at the Tyson thing, and that's a WWE correlation and relation, and I think it kind of benefits AEW and wrestling fans in a way because Tyson is a wrestling name now and has been since the Attitude Era. So having that name in there has a little bit more cachet than say bringing in a Rob Gronkowski or somebody like that.
Absolutely.
Tyson's kind of already established. So having him come in and be a factor in AEW adds to the elevation. But you look at it too. You go back, I mean, celebrities, athletes, everybody gets
been done.
involved in pro wrestling. Yeah. So you look at Andy Kaufman at Memphis.
Perfect analogy.
There you go.
But I mean, the thing is, there's fans on the surface. They're going to see this as a surface level thing, and there's no denying that. You know what I mean? I'm not overthinking. I'm thinking just on the page front value. I like what they did, but I want to know how they can pay this off. And the question marks are a little bit bigger because it's Tyson and it's Jericho. And Jericho's gonna have no problem giving his chin to Mike Tyson again. Yet he's not going to have a problem doing it. And it's not going to ruin his legacy. But is it going to improve the very young legacy that's growing of AEW? I want to see where it's going.
They could either do a cinematic match at Fighter, or you wait till there's a bunch of people in the building and you run the risk of Tyson in the ring and you do Mike Tyson's All Out. Now, marketing wise, I want Mike Tyson's All Out. Outside of the marketing, I would like a cinematch at Fighter Fest between Mike Tyson and the MMA squad against Chris Jericho in the Inner Circle.
I don't want a cinematic match. Maybe with that, but if you're gonna have like straight up Tyson versus Jericho, take the leap and do it in the ring. Just go if you're gonna do
pre-film it. Pre-film it. Do it with no one there.
I don't even know that. I think just go at it live. I mean, if you know what you're doing, if you have a plan and you think you can execute it, do it live.
I wouldn't do it live.
No,
I wouldn't do it live. It's when you have the access to do the show taped, do that match taped. Stadium Stampede was taped and it was successful. It was the best thing on the pay-per-view. And that was a wild, adventurous, very risky thing to do, and it worked. With this, mitigate the risk. Just mitigate it completely. You know what I mean? And do it taped because you can hide any type of weakness in this. And I don't know why you have to embrace those things when you don't have to do it. A pay-per-view, maybe. Yeah, you're paying. It's live. There's some elements. But we already saw it. Some of the pay-per-views are partially taped. WrestleMania was completely pre-filmed. I'm not against it. If there's no fans there, or you just have a controlled private audience, I don't know what the issue is. You know what I mean? Like, hide it. If you want to be able to make Mike Tyson look like a professional wrestler and he's not, do it. That's just my take.
Definitely a fair point. Like, and I can definitely see that. I feel like a lot of these, like the churning out of cinematic matches, both from WWE and like AEW to an extent too, might just have that kind of identity that it gets down the road where it's like, okay, that was a cinematic match. Remember those times when that happened?
Yeah.
It could kind of have that.
You're a product of your times. I don't think anyone's going to look back at this time watching WWE or AEW not to, oh yeah, that was during the pandemic. You know what I mean? Like when we're on the other side of this thing, and God bless we get there. And everybody watch and listen, and we want y'all there. We want y'all, all your family and friends there, man. Are you doing this? I know my ADD's jumping around here. How excited are you to like just go to a wrestling show again and do that? Like, it's something that makes me miss stuff I took for granted, and stuff that I've been to. Robert and I were supposed to go to WrestleMania. And I'm like, oh man, I'm just excited for it. And I'm the more I watched AEW, and I love what they're doing with the crowd around them and stuff like that. NXT, WWE has been a lot better this week to me because they have a crowd to react to everything. It's great. I think it's the best thing they've done since the pandemic. And AEW was ahead of them on that, and it's all circumstantial. They had Daily Place. They had an open air venue. They could let that sound kind of go out, and it actually worked. So I enjoy what both of them are doing. Let's go over to NXT. They had a fair night on the ratings, Robert. Once again, what was their number? This is up
731,000.
That's pretty good. That's up by over nearly over. They were in the 500s, weren't they last week?
I believe they had like 592 or something. So they're up over 100,000. And it was a good way to be up. I mean, you got Kurt Angle, you got Cage Fight. These shows were stacked. There's no Masked Singer. I think it's going to be a good summer for the Wednesday Night War.
I think so too.
I'm excited, in general. And you know what, Kev, you're the one that watches the NXT. I have them all on my DVR still ready to watch.
Yeah,
it's like just knowing that's kind of. It's nostalgia for me, but it's also it's cool to see in wrestling right now. Like just having that going on. It's just another storyline outside of a storyline.
Yeah, and I also think NXT is a reactive show. I do think they look at what AEW does and they try to give the best they can. And WWE finally kind of figured something out with the hockey boards around the ring and the crowd there. Added a lot to this week's NXT. I was a big fan of it. I thought this was maybe the best show they've done with no fans, and they had some really, really good stuff. The Drake Maverick story is really exciting. I think people can argue about how much they hate Charlotte Flair and she's so overexposed, but she's the most over champion in wrestling right now.
You keep saying that, and I think nobody suffered more from the pandemic than NXT. Nobody across the board. NXT was
explain that, Robert.
They were supposed to get a big boost from the Charlotte Flair Rhea Ripley match taking place in front of thousands, tens of thousands of people at Raymond James. Didn't happen. NXT really loses a vibe when they lose the audience. Like AEW is still making up for it in some ways. Right now, it's just like Charlotte Flair is on top of this brand that doesn't really have its full identity at the moment. I feel like they're in a weird period of transition. We know that Chelsea Green just fired Robert Stone. We don't know what's next for her. Matt Riddle is kind of getting this weird whimper of a send-off because there's no people, there's no Pete Dunne payoff. He's going to have to come back and do a completely new thing. It's going to be interesting to see how NXT bounces back from all of this.
Now, Robert, you mean that NXT has fallen in regards to just AEW and NXT, or do you mean across the board for all WWE brands too?
I think across the board, it's felt the biggest effect of not having any people.
Couldn't disagree more.
I disagree as well. Just because I look at Raw and it's had a rough go, real rough go.
And I thought the last, especially this week with the crowd, it got better, and they
sure.
And Drew McIntyre has been a good champion, but they also have the challenge of doing a 3-hour show. I think 3 hours is just hard, and there's been some weeks where it's like, that didn't feel like 3 hours. And if you can say it didn't feel like 3 hours, then they did a good job. I thought SmackDown has been the most fairly consistent. It feels tight. It feels like it moves very quickly. It doesn't feel like anything goes too long. They've had very, very good matches. I think the Intercontinental Tournament's been good. But just I've enjoyed what NXT's been doing. I enjoyed the Cruiserweight tournament. You would think that this whole crop of wrestlers that don't feel that like they don't feel like big stars. They feel like great athletes, but you could just do that on the network, right? The fact that that's taken up a lot of content on the surface before that, I wouldn't have thought that was a good thing. But you got this Drake Maverick story that is very, very organic and is a character you care about. And with the 205 Live guys, it has always been a problem is, do you care about these guys beyond just bell-to-bell stuff? And now you have someone you do. And he's in this final, and it's compelling. I enjoy it. I like where they've changed some things. I like that Johnny Gargano is a heel. Karrion Kross is a phenomenal guy. He came out of nowhere. Not nowhere, but I mean, we saw it coming. But I don't think people would care this much about a new name in NXT in a long, long time. Riddle leaving the Fight Pit, loved it. I thought that was one of the most creative ways of using a gimmick in the no fans time since the Boneyard match, in terms of let's try and make something that we couldn't do in front of a live crowd. I don't think that, I said this last night, I don't think that would have looked good in front of a live crowd. It would have limited your view, like the Punjabi prison match that I went and saw one of those live. It was not fun to watch live until the last few minutes when Batista leapt from a cage to cage. And that was it. That was all you wanted to see. Whereas this looked like it was good made for TV wrestling. Couldn't disagree with you anymore, Robert, but that doesn't mean
Kev, here's a question.
Appreciate your opinion.
Here's a question. What Riddle losing? Do you think it was a good move? Would you have preferred that Riddle went on top to build it, elevate him more, like going into SmackDown as a new star? Or how do you rate that in regards to him just leaving NXT on that kind of way? And I know it establishes Timothy Thatcher, who I love, but it doesn't. Yeah. Does that affect Riddle going forward as hopefully a top star in SmackDown?
I mean, the thing is with people complain about WWE and how they book everybody, but this is also the issue you get when you have roster depth. You got to move people around and get the most out of what you can. Riddle is due to leave. I think he's one of those guys where he's a character guy. He's going to give you great matches. You're going to believe that he could hurt people. I mean, this guy was undefeated when he left the UFC. You buy his legitimate end, and you got to see some of it. And you could tell him and Thatcher both have a legitimate background in fighting. Really enjoyed being in that cage. Like, they had fun. You could see there was like a physical movement of them, and Kurt Angle being there. It was fun. I didn't mind him losing because it wasn't like even though he got choked out basically, it didn't it didn't take away from his accomplishments there. And his accomplishment was becoming a character, becoming the king of bros. You already knew when he came to WWE that he had it. And then he became even more than it. And I think, I'm going to say this guy is not going to be in the Intercontinental title picture. I think he's a guy who is going to get a world title run in the next 2 years. When fans come back, this is a guy who's going to be in arenas full of people that are going to be chanting bro. And that is a gimmick that WWE can sink their teeth into. There is a lot of fun things he can do. There's a lot of fresh matchups. I was hopeful that he would go to SmackDown. It does seem like he's going there. The matchup possibilities are good. I don't think this is that big of a letdown for him getting tapped out. Thatcher has to look strong. NXT will be, some people say it's not on the level of SmackDown. It's a separate thing. There's a lot of people who just watch NXT, and that's their show. I watch NXT and AEW, and I don't like Raw. I don't watch SmackDown. I watch the pay-per-views, right? I'm so pissed off with what they do. It's too WWE. And there's a lot of things in NXT that don't feel like that. And Thatcher is one of those guys that can be developed and doesn't feel like that. He needed the win more than Riddle did. It makes complete sense. It doesn't. I don't think it does much to hurt Riddle at all.
Okay.
It depends on how they debut him, because if they debut him and he's just like doing vignettes, are they going to catapult him into something major? I don't want to see him, test the waters with Corbin, especially in an era where you don't have to test the waters with an audience. Throw him right smack dab in the middle of that Intercontinental title picture that's got AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, Jeff Hardy, Drew Gulak, apparently. And, throw him right in the middle of that mix. That's where I want to see Matt Riddle.
Having him, you don't want to have him on. Like, my concern is I hope they don't get him in that position of RVD in 2016 with WWE, where he's like, they kind of tongue-in-cheek make fun of him, or they kind of downplay his kind of value. Because RVD's was like, you could put him at the top of the card back then too. Like, he came back, everybody was hyped up for RVD coming back. But you put Matt Riddle at that level where he's like, okay, a little bit of comedy, but don't go over the top with his bro comedy. It's part of him, but you don't want to like really hammer that home as his main feature. You want him to be an ass kicker, badass.
Sure.
That kind of thing. So
it's hard when fans want both. You know what I mean? It's really, really hard when fans want both of those sides of a character, and Otis is a guy who's very much a comedy character, but people love him. You can't deny it. People respond to him, and he's getting reactions online that people love. A lot of very casual fans enjoy him, enjoy what he brings to the table, and is connected, and that's why he got the briefcase. And it's a shocking thing that he got the briefcase, right? Very much a swerve, but you could say he's probably a little bit more over than Braun Strowman, who's a champion on SmackDown right now. And so when you actually lay that out, that doesn't feel like that much of a shocking statement when you actually say it. But Riddle's a guy who come in, can do that, but I think people would buy him hurting people more because of his legitimate background. You could buy him. He's from the UFC. He's a Brock Lesnar we can have every week. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? And that is something you guys always notice. We always bitch about Brock Lesnar, but when he comes out and he has these great matches, those are the matches your casual friends watch and care about. That's your ESPN buddy coming in. That's your sports talk radio buddy asking, hey, what's Lesnar doing? It always lines up that way. And Riddle's a guy that they can basically say is theirs, doesn't have all those other celebrity things around him. He's just ours. He's in-house. And they have him. And to have that variety, I think, is good. I want to talk about something else. AEW, got to catch it. Love the debut of FTR. F the rest, Dax Hardwood, Cash Wheeler. I said this on last night's show. Dominic, what do you think? Is this name Dax Hardwood? Sounds like a porn star name. Am I wrong?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
I don't know if he's winning PWIs. Maybe he's winning AVNs. It was just the thing that came to my mind. But I love that they drove out in kind of like the old school truck, the face off with the Bucks. This was seen coming. This is one of the most telegraphed things in a while. It was just a matter of when, not if. We got it. How soon do we get them in the Bucks in that dream match that people have wanted for years now?
We do not get it until we see people in the building, and that is one that I'm adamant about. You need an audience for this, because they're going to be the ninth man on the field. They're going to be the they're going to have that edge that, oh my God, it's finally Revival Bucks. It's going to be good. Keep them friendly right now while there's nobody there. And then as soon as you can pull that trigger, you pull it, and we're off to the races.
The thing is, Robert, we don't know when we're going to be in front of live fans, even if it's a small crowd. That's such a hard thing to do and say. I don't think that's easy.
See, we're all living in different states, so I think that makes our viewpoint on this a little more differing. The more I look at Florida is so chomping at the bit to be open today that I'm starting to look.
You guys are such a tourism driven state too. With Disney World and everything, and then of course the beaches and everything like that too. Yeah.
So Disney World opens July 11th. That's what we're looking at for Disney. I have to imagine we're got to be thinking sports August, September. Do we line it up with All Out? Do we get a small crowd in Daly's Place for All Out? I don't know. I have no inside information, but I got to imagine that they want it, that, Cody wants it, Tony Khan wants it, the Florida governor wants it.
He said he wanted fans by July, right?
He did say he wanted fans by July.
You think about it too, Kev, you sent that link out too about Texas opening up their sports stuff.
I did. Yeah, that one's a little bit more interesting.
If Texas is going to do that, they're ready. I could only imagine Florida's going to be there with plenty of time.
Let's not forget, ICW in New York is doing a drive-in deathmatch event. They're doing this.
That's crazy.
IWA Mid-South deathmatches.
Will that be the first? That'll be the first drive-in wrestling show, correct?
Potentially. I don't know the full history. Maybe there's been one in the past, but they're going to do that.
They got to get a Deuce and Domino in for that one. That'd be.
I think Jimmy Snuka Jr. can dust off the jacket and get in there with Mr. 1859 and do some good Deuce and Domino action.
How come you missed the first match? Traffic was bad. Literally traffic was bad. Parking's a bitch. It's interesting. Every show we kind of cover this, and this is our segment on basically COVID changes with sports. Texas will open up live sporting events sometime soon. They want to do it with 25% capacity, so it'll be very, very limited. You're not even running really profitable events then, I would think, financially, unless you're going to charge a lot for tickets, and I don't see anyone being morally able to do that at the moment. What those sports will be, I don't know, but obviously then you could jump to conclusion, will WWE be part of it? But then they're saying this is specific about the Texas events, that is outdoor events only. Outdoor events will be able to have fans. So that's baseball. That is Texas Stadium where they have the Cowboys. Texas is such a football-loving frenzy state. I think you would have an uproar if you told them they couldn't have their Friday Night Lights high school football in the state of Texas. I think that is the lifeblood of that state in a lot of towns. I'm talking about small towns, 20, 30,000. They tie their economy to people going to high school football on Friday nights. So I would say the same thing about Cowboys and maybe even the Texans if you want to dig a little bit deeper. So if you're going to start opening up those venues, well, what do we do with those venues before we have football? Do you want to run a football stadium if you're WWE or AEW? I'm going to say this. I saw some people ask me about it earlier today too. I don't think it's going to happen. I think WWE and AEW stay in Florida as long as they can. They don't have to move the crews. They know what buildings they're working with. It's safer. WWE's putting up hockey boards around the ring, and AEW has their own facilities and they own them. If I was them, I wouldn't move.
Daly's an outdoor venue.
I agree.
What?
Daly's is a bit of an outdoor venue. They have that outdoor look. I don't know for sure, but I think with all the reports that Vince McMahon is anal about getting fans in for SummerSlam, All Out is September 5th. There's no way they don't try to get a crowd for All Out.
Well, SummerSlam is in Boston, Massachusetts.
Not anymore. It's not, pal.
It's not anymore. Not anymore, pal. That change has happened. Boston is pretty much saying nothing's going to happen until Labor Day. We're not going to open up anything until that. Interesting. Today is the 28th. Tomorrow in Boston, that is well outside of the world of wrestling, beloved Irish punk rock band, the Dropkick Murphys, will be performing on the field at Fenway Park in an empty Fenway Park, and joining them remotely will be Bruce Springsteen. So that'll be a free show you can watch online. It'll be a lot of different charities will be involved in that if you want to check that out. Something just to stream on a Friday.
Bruce Springsteen is drop kicking Murphy at an empty Fenway Park. Where is Seth Rollins in all this mess?
One thing we can touch on as well, certainly talking about empty venues. We're going to jump to your questions here in just a minute, be able to get you all the questions. All three of us will take on anything you got. Bring it on. Get him ready to go here. Last night, Adam Cole, the reigning NXT champion, who was photographed recently at an AEW party. Ooh, let the rumors run rampant. His girlfriend.
I saw some rumors running rampant. Amazing.
I'm never going to stop the rumors, buddy. That mill runs 24/7. All right, and you know who's pulling the lever? A guy named Mark. All right, so do want to get into this. Adam Cole doing his teleconference where he negotiated his upcoming title match with Velveteen Dream. He's the reigning NXT champion. I haven't seen much of him on TV. He's literally been doing Zoom calls on TV. But they're going to put their match in a special location. So it looks like maybe another cinematic match in a different place. NXT's done one. We had the final beat with Gargano and Ciampa. This one, where do they put it? It seems interesting. I like that they didn't reveal it right away. I like the pull it out. You got another week of television to get there. Is this match in Dreamland? Do they do it in Velveteen's Dreamland? Well, where are we going with this? I like the possibilities.
I think you got to be careful with it. I don't know. Like, if I were to think of a cinematic matchup in NXT, I wouldn't have thought like pairing Dream and Cole up. You know, maybe somebody like a Finn Balor or anything could kind of translate over a little bit more. Or, why is he slipping my mind? Punishment Martinez. What's his name now? Damian Priest. Somebody like that. But having those guys, it just seems very out of the ordinary in a way. And I don't know. It's just these cinematic matches. I think promotions do have to be careful with it because there's that fine line of making it really cool and unique, but there's also that fine line of making it, all right, they're trying a little too hard too. You know? I don't know.
Both
That's kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
There were plenty of people that saying the Stadium Stampede thing. You're trying really hard to do something, but it delivered. It was fun, and people said that about the Boneyard match, and it was the best match.
I love the Boneyard match. Yeah, I mean, if you do it right, you have the right position.
Firefly Funhouse really divided a lot of people at WrestleMania, and that was barely even a match. You know what I mean? That was it was avant-garde art. Like you could go there. So a lot of possibilities there. I don't know where they could go, but I do think that I'm excited until they do something. This is one of those things where the questions that were raised with Tyson and Jericho were interesting, but I'm worried about what you could get out of it and if it'll be good. Velveteen Dream is a guy I think still has a lot to prove. You know, they put a lot of hype in him. He came back from injury. This guy was doing elbow drops off the top rope to the outside of the onto a concrete floor. Some people say they cut it. I thought that was cool. He is a character. It does seem a little bit more appealing to see him get out of the ring and do some different things than it would Cole. And I think no matter what, Dream's getting that belt. I think this is where they do something different, and maybe Cole gets put on the move like Riddle did, and vice versa. Maybe some guys come over to NXT too. So wherever they go, I'm compelled to see what happens with it. I do think I will hold reservations until they do something with it. They want to put it in a baseball park. They could do something there. They have some. Come on, what Tampa Bay Rays? What are we gonna have? We're gonna have a fight at the park. What are we gonna do, Robert? What's available in the general Florida region? You think down there?
Does anybody know where they filmed the Heartbeat match? The one penalty.
That looked like it was another gym, like another facility they have in around Orlando because they had the truck outside. It looked like something they had real access to.
I would bet on maybe another facility in Full Sail, something that we don't know they have access to, but they have access to, and whatever it is, it'll be a lot more hard-hitting than you think, and a lot less Velveteen Dream than you'd think.
There are some weird possibilities of them doing something that like advertises something, like doing it at a baseball park gets attention on the baseball park and the team. Doing it at an amusement park gets attention on the amusement parks, and they have access to some of them in Orlando. I'm not saying Disney's going to do it, but Universal's opening up too. So there is some possibilities there. Not reporting anything, just purely throwing something out there.
I'm going to say too, if they have it in Tampa Bay, they're going to get more attendance in Tampa Bay than they would with the Devil Race game going on. So
yeah. And it does seem like we're going to have baseball on a field at some point in 2020. Other news related to COVID-19, the NHL announcing a plan of action that will have hockey back on the ice in empty arenas before the end of 2020. So good to them. Let's jump into your questions about what's going on in the world of wrestling. If you're with us live, you can fire those off. If you're on social media, anywhere else listening to the show, once again, you can get us on Spotify now, along with iHeart, TuneIn, all the audio spectrums. You can get us there. Videos available on Facebook and YouTube as well. Let's jump right into them here. What questions do we have here? Robert. This one's flying by here. Guys, I got to catch up with him here. Here we go. People.
Dominic, tell us what you're doing over on the podcast. What Survey Says.
Sure. Yeah, I just I was a little loopy last night because I was working from 5:30 in the morning till 10:30 doing that podcast, and so I recapped AEW Dynamite and just gave my thoughts on it. The unique aspect of having Mike Tyson there, but yeah, the debut of the FTR, the impact and certain aspects of having them involved with the Young Bucks. Yeah, it was just a fun little recap that I did with Survey Says. It's tough because, you know, typically my plan to do the show was to cover MLW and NWA Power, but now that they're kind of going into these anthologies and Carneyland and things like that, it's kind of changed my aspect of it. So far I've only kind of been doing AEW Dynamite recaps once a week, but it's been intriguing.
Has anyone seen Carneyland yet? Has anyone seen this Carneyland thing from NWA?
I have not seen it. I've heard mixed reviews. I heard some people think it's very weird and not too interesting, but I've also heard some people say this is nuts, and I really like it. So,
well, where's Kizarnyland?
Where is it?
You know,
it looks like it's in North Carolina, in a small town in North Carolina. That's the vibe I was getting just from that image. You know, like where Andy Griffith happened, like Mayberry.
Yeah, Mid-Atlantic is what they're focusing on here.
Yeah.
James Ross texting with our first question of the show. Go ahead if you're with us live. Fire off your questions. Your time to get on screen. Your time to dictate the topics and the show. James says, with all the minor league baseball parks being canceled, why can't AEW and WWE use some of those places? Yeah, you're looking at facilities you could use that were open air. You could put a few thousand people in, or at least a few hundred if you want to spread them out, and it's completely open air. I think WWE could book one of those pretty easily. I'm in Chicago. The Toyota Park is a 20,000 seat open air MLS soccer stadium that the Major League Soccer team doesn't want to play in anymore. There are facilities like that across the country. Colleges have facilities like that as well. There's some possibilities here, but you got to have those safety precautions. You got to have people 6 feet apart and all those different things. I think you're going to have a more stringent level of getting people into a building and limiting how many people can get into a building.
And back to your guys' point too, like just from a business perspective, it makes more sound sense to just keep it at Daly's place or keep it in Florida. And, you know, playing in those in those ballparks, Global Force Wrestling did it when they were around. And, you know, how is that going to be, though, when you have seating arrangements that are kind of far away from a ring or anything like that? Just the setup of it's would be not necessarily a challenge, but more of an adjustment. Too, so.
I think the drive-in thing would be a lot better than that, honestly. So you brought that ICW thing with doing a drive-in match. I was like, that's a little appealing.
I know the copyright is taken, but can we do a drive-in match and call it Dream Theater? Work with me.
I think that's kind of cool. I do think that Robert, you hit a. I hope Regal's listening. That would be a pretty cool one here. Noel Orlando Roland texting in a win. Where in here as a fan wrestling, no matter what company, no need to insult each other, make fun of each other, grow up. He says people need to be nice to each other. Noel thinks there needs to be more positivity. Has the let's all be united while we fight this COVID thing worn off and people are just jerks again on the internet with wrestling?
I don't know if that ever actually started. I think people were kind of split on how to deal with the COVID thing, which led to more bashing, which is another podcast entirely. But, you know, I think what would unite us all is some good music. And we, as wrestling fans, you know, we haven't gotten a lot of good music these days. We're long gone are the days of Creed and Limp Bizkit filling our ears with joy and love. But
joy?
I said what I said. Okay? You know, I think we need some music.
What I said. I said the thing that I said it.
Am I wrong, Dom?
You know, I have a soft spot for Limp Bizkit just because of that My Way, and then the the Rollin', obviously. So yeah, I can kind of see your point. What maybe more into your point is those damn good video packages that they used to do in WWE. You know, just compiling that with a good soundtrack and all that stuff. Wrestling needs more of that, and I don't think that would unite these haters on Twitter, wrestling haters on Twitter, a lot more than throwing out all this other controversial stuff that pops up on there, where people just they're like, hey, let's, and I'm all about the treating people nice online. Obviously, it's a huge thing, and it's a huge cultural it has a huge cultural influence on our society as a whole. So it's just like, factoring all that in, you be nice to everybody. But you're not going to get that, unfortunately. People downright are miserable, and
they want to take it out on somebody they don't know.
They want to take it out on somebody that they don't know because they're upset with their own lives, and that's kind of the upset.
And that's super shitty. But Dominic, if you indulge me here, I think those people are very much out of touch and out of time.
Yes. Absolutely, they got too much time on their hand.
What?
Speaking of songs and music, did you just do a Hall & Oates song? I'm out of touch.
You're out of time. Hey, here's a fun aside too. A fun aside. Yep. I specifically bought that movie, Denzel Washington movie, Out of Time, because I was banking on Hall & Oates playing sometime during that movie, Out of Touch. They did not play it in the movie.
You bought it because you thought there was going to be.
I thought they were going to play Hall & Oates. Gonna be playing in it at some point. I was like, they're gonna play it. It's gonna happen. And I was so disappointed.
Hall & Oates are fantastic. We gotta get back to wrestling, I guess.
Yeah, I was. I don't know why there's not
Scott Hall and Kevin Oates.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Speaking of Scott Hall, survey says you got the names from Scott Hall.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's the 24-year anniversary of his debut. It's all full circle.
Oh,
Want to get to this question. Johnny Ute texted in saying, do you think Scarlet Bordeaux will wrestle in NXT anytime this year? Impact didn't use her well. Well, I don't know about Impact not using her well because her doing the smoke show things were there was a big hit there for Impact. And the fact that they were going to go into, let's have a sexualized character. And let's have a character who is absolutely saying, I'm a hot person and that's all I need to be. And isn't that a fun, to like this modern women's movement? And that's heel heat. I think she did well with it. I thought she's adapted very, very well. I tweeted this out last night at WrestleZone.com. The segment last night with Tommaso Ciampa taking out Jabroni, her just walking down to the ring, saying nothing. And Cross isn't there, and she's staring down Ciampa, and then Cross pops up on the screen, and she stares at the screen. She said 1,000 words without saying anything at all, and I thought that is so good. She completely gets what her role is to complement what's going on in the ring. At some point, I think she will wrestle again. I will say this. I have an absolute fondness for her. I got to work with her before her wrestling career really exploded. On the radio side of things here in Chicago, and she understood what an audience wants and what a story needs, and she has such a great wrestling mind for what's going on. And when you have somebody that understands their role so much, why change it? Why force something? It's so exciting for her. Could she win some and titles and do some fun things in NXT? Yeah, sure. But right now, Cross is the train, ride it, and she is a perfect engineer to throw the coal in the engine of that. And I think Cross is going to win this match with Ciampa right now. I think he's going to wreck him. And I think that's what they're going to build Cross up as the Kraken of NXT. And he's going to get unleashed on quite a few people in the better half of 2020 here. People into it here. Other people texting in. Let's see here. Oh, people are just getting into arguments in our chat. That's great. We love that. That's wonderful.
Speaking of love on
yeah.
the internet.
We were asking people to be nice to each other, and they just jumped into arguments. Oh,
Hey, while Kev's looking, Robert, you were the MVP of this week, man. Getting us on Spotify, you're wheeling and dealing. Yeah,
I am wheeling and dealing. I felt it was important for this brand to get some exposure on Spotify, and I'm all about the zone. I'm all about growing the brand within the zone, and I love the team, hardworking people: Bill Pritchard, Tyler Treese, Kevin, me, you, Andy Ravens. I'm also doing a bunch of other stuff. I got Smart Guy Moment, Tony Mango, Callum Wiggins. Love those guys. Fightful, I mention them all the time. Not gonna say any names. He's doing some great things. You want to know what Velveteen Dream's doing for that cinematic match? Subscribe to Fight
Select. Stay Select.
Subscribe to Fightful Select. Anyway, I love the wrestling business, and somehow
you used our show to put money in the pocket of that pony-tailed Benedict.
Whoa.
Okay, a man who demanded you attack me physically and spray paint the two F's that go in two different directions. All right, something that looks like what are those awful T-shirts that MMA dudes wore in the early 2000s? Affliction T-shirt. Thanks,
Affliction.
great. All right, so I'm full of this. Plugs. Limit those plugs. I know we have a professional gentleman's agreement about those plugs. All right, but you will not utter that man's name on.
Well, you know what, Robert, I'm kind of with you. Just instigate it a little bit more. Maybe I'm with Sean on this one.
Dominic, I know you want us to fight, but not.
I just want to say, it's clear that Kevin is living in the past. That Sean does not have a ponytail. He cut his hair. And he donated it, Kevin. He's a very good person, Kevin. So,
shame on you.
So shame. I know your name, okay?
Shame on you,
you know my weakness is shame. Shame by all of them. A lot of different takes here. We will return on Monday night after Monday Night Raw. So the rhythm of the live streams and the shows you get from WrestleZone Daily, where you interact with us live. These will come out Monday night after Raw, Tuesday afternoons, late afternoon around 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday nights after AEW and NXT. Next Thursday night, we go back down to that late afternoon spot around 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. But you can listen anytime on YouTube. You can Facebook and watch it. Listen to it on TuneIn, iHeart, and now Spotify. We just put up a playlist. I will share the link after the show as well on my Twitter @KevKelm. We have all of the best interviews we've done in the last year. I'm talking Seth Rollins calling out CM Punk. Before he won the title, after he won the title, Jon Moxley, the Ricky Starks interview talking about his free agency and what that could unfold. A lot of great audio. If you just want to go through it and listen to a different piece of every single one, you can. All right, you can listen to it any way you want. And Spotify has a great layout. I'm very, very happy that we're there. And if you're listening to music on Spotify, you just slide over to podcast, you search WrestleZone, you see our logo that you see right here on screen. It'll be right there, and we'll drop in that Tama Tonga interview tomorrow, so something to look forward to on a Friday as well.
The Tama Tonga interviews there. That's with Bill Pritchard and Ross Berman, who co-host Tama Tonga's podcast. Ross Berman is the New Japan expert. Usually does New Japan Wednesdays, but New Japan's not doing any wrestling, so we're kind of without any New Japan.
Before the end of the summer. That could change.
That should change before the end of the summer, but we'll see there. I'm excited about that one. Check out everything Dominic's got. Ricky Starks, Duke the Dumpster Droese with Bill Pritchard is on there. That's just amazing. We got a ton of great content, and it's just going to keep growing from here, I think.
Yeah, Mance Warner too. Mance Warner too. He's one of my favorite.
That was the one I couldn't remember.
One of my favorite interviews I did.
We're going to the pay window.
Holy smokes! Does he have stories? And does he? I mean, he's just so fun to talk to. I was holding back some laughter during that one.
I had a fun Mance Warner story. I think this was after All In. This is All In. This is outside the Sears Center. Dominic, you and I were there, but we weren't together, right?
Yes, I love this story. This is a great story.
Yeah, and I remember I was trying to meet it with you guys, and it was a whole thing. It was very, very hard to get out of that building, Sears Center. It's in suburban Chicago, and it was raining. I remember it was like raining, so it was very, very hard. And there was this fracas to get the buses because the venue, the arena was like a good 15 minutes away from where the hotel was, where everyone was based for the convention. So we're trying to figure this out, and like Lyfts or crazy Ubers are nuts, and you're walking around. And I literally walked through a crowd of wrestlers, and it's Mance Warner saying, "Come on, man! I ain't gonna come over and kiss anyone's ass. I'm watching a show just like anyone else." He's drinking a beer, walking out of the venue. You're not supposed to drink a beer walking out. And he's basically saying, "I'm going right on the bus. I'm drinking a beer, whatever." It was just like one of those things you're walking by. It was like, the dude lives the gimmick. I absolutely loved it. I enjoyed him on Twitter last night saying, "If you cough in my face, I'm going to super kick you. I'm going to lay my shit. I ain't going to slap that leg. I'm going to lay my shit. I ain't going to slap the leg." But the interview with Mance Warner is absolutely great. I would say a real MVP for MLW right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Robert, tell them what they got to do.
When you watch wrestling, enjoy wrestling.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.